All right, we're doing some spring cleaning today, and we found an old box of homemade hockey cards. It is June 1st, 2025. And way back when I went to Junior A hockey games, they didn't actually make hockey cards unless you made the pros. So I decided that the 1987 Toronto Marlies needed to have cards. So I made them myself. Front of the checklist and even on the back. We had some late additions to the team that year. We even crossed somebody out for some reason. I can't remember exactly why. But moving on. Number 2, Bill Armstrong. And yes, these autographs are real. They were obtained in person by me at Maple Leaf Gardens. Bill Armstrong, of course, would go on to become a general manager for the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think he's still doing that. Stay-at-home defenseman, big guy, lots of fights. In fact, do we have stats? We do. 87, 88. This must have been the 88, 89 version. 64 games, 1 goal, 10 assists, 11 points, 99 penalty minutes. I would have thought he had a little more than that. Sean Boland, he was 87 for sure. He was actually drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, but never actually made the cut. 52 games, 3 goals, 21 assists, 143 penalty minutes. Here's a guy that definitely did not make the NHL. Chris Seguin. I don't really remember much about him. And those numbers don't really tell the whole story, maybe. Mike Flanagan. He actually signed this one as Flags, which I thought was rather interesting. He was also one of 2 Mike Flanagan sports personalities. Of course, the pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles joined the Toronto Blue Jays around this time. And I actually got to meet him too. Mike Flanagan. Yes, these defensemen were stay-at-home defensemen. 1 goal, 7 assists, 77 penalty minutes. Now this guy was a big star. First round draft pick of the Hartford Whalers. And I believe at one time would become a Toronto Maple Leaf. He was the captain of the Toronto Marlies, Chris Gouvedaris. And he got sent to the World Juniors, so was it this year or the year later? 62 games, 80 points, 118 penalty minutes. Yeah, he wasn't afraid to mix it up there. Piero Greco, 5'7", 160 pounds. One of the largest goaltenders I've ever seen. I'm afraid to ask what the goals against average was because the score got pretty high in those junior games. 40 games, 14-17. Is that 16 ties? I can't even read my own writing. Heck, I was writing like a chicken scratch even back then. 4.98 goals against average, 0 shutouts, and I believe that's 14 penalty minutes. My God. Notice that the only cards that got kept are the ones that had the autographs, because we're missing a few here. Jeff Turcotte. His brother, Alfie Turcotte, made the NHL. This guy didn't quite make it, I don't think. But he was a good player. 66 games, 83 points. But all the scouts probably said, oh, he's too small, he's only 5'9", blah, blah, blah. Should have given him a chance. Jason Winch. 6'2", 200? Was he really that big? Hate to say it, but I remember him being more of a wimp than a winch. A few points on the board, though. 14 penalty minutes. Yeah, he didn't like the rough stuff. Oh, boy. So you can't have a hockey team without support staff. So we have the assistant coach, the statistician, and the team physician. And on the back, I believe we have 2 out of the 3 autographs. And how's this for irony? Mr. Paul Dennis was married to my guidance counselor, and I had no idea about this until one day we got started talking hockey for some reason. And I may have actually shown her these autographs, and she's like, "You have a Paul Dennis autograph?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You actually know who he is?" "Yeah, he's my husband." I'm like, "What?" Okay, Dr. Mike Clarefield. I went to at least 40 Marley games, and I never saw you. I'm not convinced you're a real person. Because I got everybody's autograph, except for one, which we'll get to next. Well, a little later. Not these guys. Oh, the training staff. I can't imagine. These guys got so frustrated because every game you'd buy a program for like $2. And with the program, you also got a Marley's yearbook. So every single game, I would bug these three guys to autograph my programs. I must have like 100 of them. Then I made these cards, but there they are. Thom, Rennie, Jim Carrey, and Alan Ball, the trainers. And of course, the statistics on the back, number of injuries, and we don't know how many there were because I don't think they kept those statistics back in the days. This one's even better. "Hey kid, you spelled my name wrong. John Baton was actually John Batten." Alrighty then. No photo available. He would appear in the next year's edition of the team photo, but back then he was some newcomer. I'm glad he was happy to sign the autograph. Yeah, he only played 11 games, 1 assist, 15 penalty minutes. Here is the elusive Harold Edwin Ballard, president, not of just the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Toronto Marlies. We had a fake autograph taped to the card, and it has since been removed. 5'7", 249 pounds. That is totally made up. I don't believe Harold Ballard's weight was ever published anywhere, but at that time I was a little kid, and he seemed kind of pudgy, and I just thought 249 was a nice even round number for Harold. So there you go, Harold. You got anything on the back for Harold? Nothing. These must be a special insert version because I don't even remember making these, but this is John Nelson. In 88-89, he would be the team captain of the Marlies. And I believe he played World Juniors? Maybe not. What do we got here? It still says 87-88. 2 seasons worth. Okay. From Toronto. 156 penalty minutes. He was a little guy. How tall? Did they put his height and weight on these? I don't think so. He got into a lot of fights, even though he was a little guy. I thought this guy was worthy of being drafted. So here I was, I don't know, 13, 14 years old. I picked up the phone and dialed what is now known as the Fan 590. I think it was called CJCL back then. And they had a talk show segment about hockey, and I was trying to stump them and saying, "Can you guys tell me which team drafted John Nelson, the captain of the Toronto Marlies?" And of course, the talking heads couldn't say who it was. And they went into this long rant and ramble about, I think one of them was Gary Green. Well, I follow the NHL there, and I don't pay a lot of attention, to be honest, to the OHL. I said, "Well, John Nelson hasn't been drafted, and I don't know why, because this guy's a good talent. He should be drafted." And I think they hung the phone up on me. Ooh, Chris Gouvederis makes a second appearance in this rare insert. Like my artwork. Actually dug out the markers and drew the hockey stick and the tape there. Unfortunately, this tape here, I guess I can't be blaming. Most hockey cards I have from the 50s are covered in this type of tape residue, but now I can see myself. I am so old that I have tape residue on my own homemade hockey cards. Chris Gouvederis. Well, there is height and weight on there. 6', 190. OHL. 64 games, 62 games the next year. Don't know why he didn't do better in the NHL. Mike Jackson. This guy did get drafted, and I was a little surprised because I only thought of him as a goon, but the Toronto Maple Leafs saw something in this kid, so they drafted him. Okay, point a game. Why don't I remember him being that? I just remember when he threw the water bottle, I sat right beside the penalty box, of course. And there was this game. He had a fight with Mark Major, who was like 6'5", 250. I think he ended up going on to play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So after the fight, Mike Jackson and Mark Major were escorted to their respective penalty boxes, and I was sitting right beside Mark Major in the first rail seat. And all of a sudden, this water bottle comes flying, and I believe Mike Jackson was intending to hit Mark Major in the head with the water bottle, but somehow it exploded and it opened up, and I ended up getting soaked. So that's my fun memory of Mike Jackson. I tried out for the Leafs, but never made the team. Ooh, boy. Robert Sameta. Somehow we missed him in the first set. He did get sent away to the World Juniors. And he was also a #1 draft pick. I believe the Boston Bruins. How come these are all upside down? I'm going to have to send these back, see if we get a refund. Toronto. It must have been 88, 89 that he played for the World Juniors. They only played 66 games back in the OHL. Maybe they still do. I haven't watched in a while. But yeah, he only missed 2 games in 2 years. He too would end up on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, his claim to fame is that he escaped the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. He was way up high, and he managed to get out. So good for you, Rob. Who's next? Another Bill Armstrong. We already talked about him in the last segment, so we won't add much to it other than the fact that he's apparently from Richmond Hill. Craig Kitteringham. This guy got traded, so he wasn't around for very long. He, too, was a bit of a tough guy, as I remember. Yes. Okay. Oh, he's from... How do you go from Lethbridge, Alberta to playing in the OHL? 60 games, 37 points for a defenseman. That's pretty good. 171 penalty minutes. I remember a fight he had with Ty Domi. You may know who he is. I should tell my Ty Domi story. Ty Domi played for the Peterborough Petes. And, of course, the Petes and the Marlies were in the same division, so they played each other like 9 or 10 times every season. So, of course, Ty Domi's at the game, and I'm in my usual seat, rail 76, right beside the visitors' penalty box. And, of course, Ty Domi spent quite a bit of time sitting beside me in that game. More time in the penalty box than on the bench or the ice. So about a month later, the Petes are back for a rematch, and without saying or doing anything, Ty Domi, during the warm-ups, comes right over to the penalty box and drops a puck right into my lap. So he recognized me and remembered me from the previous game, and that was really cool. And he would go on to be an NHL player for a long time and have some memorable moments, both as a scrapper and as a hockey dad. Max Domi, now in the NHL. My God, Ty Domi. Some of the best fights I ever saw were Marley fights against Ty Domi. Glenn Lowe's is one in particular. I believe that game was televised, but we've yet to uncover anyone that actually has a copy of that fight. Glenn Lowe's, are you out there, buddy? I think I wrote you an email or somewhere on Facebook or LinkedIn. He never wrote me back, but Craig Kitteringham. Okay, this is going to be the team photo, which is technically a card in the set. See, it's been assigned a number. And we folded it up. And there is the 87-88 Toronto Marlies. And just to prove he was there, yes, Harold Ballard with his dog, TC Puck. Okay, without checking the names, let's see if we can recognize goalie Pat Tenpenny, Chris Gouvedaris, Paul Dennis, Glenn Lowe's, Harold Ballard, TC Puck, Sean Boland, General Manager Frank Bonello, Sean Davidson. He was also a Leaf draft pick. Coach Terry Martin, who had just retired from playing several years with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Rob Sameta, Piero Greco. Ooh, the suits are going to be tough. That's Jack White, the old bugger there. Alan Ball, the trainer, about 5'1". And, of course, right behind him is Jim Carey, the other trainer, who's 6'9". The players now, second row. Ooh, Who's that guy? I don't recognize him. Some of these guys got cut or traded, so... Okay, Mike Flanagan's in there. Is that George Redan? Didn't think he was on that team till a year later. Oh, no, that's not him. Bill Armstrong. Jeez. Chris Segan's in there. Tom Brenny. I don't recognize these two suits. I'm cheating. Director. Director of what? Toilet cleaning, maybe? I don't know. Now, this poor bugger. Roger Lajoie was the business manager. I don't know what happened to his card, because we did make a card, and he did sign it. And he would go on to become a personality on, again, Fan 590 Sports Radio. The top row here, these are some of the fringe players that might have got cut. That's Sean Costello. Ridley or Ripley, that guy. There's Jeff Turcotte. No clue who this is. And there's Roy Hallowell. Now we can... Did we mention this? We didn't miss this row. Brian Collinson. He won Scholastic Player of the Year. Mike Jackson. Bill Kovacs. Jason Winch. There's Greg Sukan. There's John Nelson. And as we can see, we got them all right. Okay, great. Anyways, lovely to take a trip down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed it.